guys, welcome back to Talk to Me Sister podcast,
Season 2. If you're new to the pod, we're twin sisters and a ton has happened since last season.
I'm a cancer survivor. Cathey had my baby. The baby's here, happy and healthy.
Yes, and we're advocates for women's health, and we're going to cover a lot of topics this season. So thanks for following along.
Welcome to Talk to Me Sister podcast. Cathey and I are here today. We're talking all about the 4th trimester, aka our postpartum journey. So it's funny because, Cathey and I obviously are sisters and we're going through this postpartum journey together, but very different sides of it. Cathey's healing and pumping and recently weaning, and I am a new mom of a newborn and combating, fatigue and schedule and baby stuff and all the things that come with being a new mom. So we're going to chat a little bit and talk a little bit about our story, but hopefully give you some good tips for all sorts of things, including feeding, pumping, combat fatigue, nutrition, supplements, things we helped with, healing, recovery, all that stuff. So let's go. Let's dive in.
Let's do it. We have been...
I still say dive in. I can't
in.
unquit the word dive in. I say every episode on season 1, I'm like, oh, I said it again. But
it's all right. I mean, we can't, what else is there?
What else do you say? Let's jump in?
Let's jump in.
Let's swim through.
Let's get started.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let's get started.
We have talked a lot. Sarah and I talk like 19 times a day. So yeah. We've talked a lot in this past 6 weeks about how we're glad we're splitting the job of the 4th trimester, because this is Cathey, and I've mentioned in the past that the 4th trimester has been so difficult for me. I am one who really loves toddlers and not the baby stage, and just totally honest about that.
I probably feel the same.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with your physical recovery along with balancing a baby. So we will get to both of our experiences this time because it's unique.
Yeah, so we're just going to go back and forth answering questions, but let's start with the first postpartum topic, which is feeding. Your journey has been exclusively pumping. You decided to do that to balance your hormones, and to do, obviously we're super grateful. I've actually gone through all your milk already, so it goes so fast, but you feel good about it and you recently weaned. So let's hear from you, Cathey. Let's give some listeners some encouragement on exclusively pumping, because whether you're a surrogate or not, some women have to exclusively pump and then bottle feed their baby. So let's hear from you about exclusively pumping and kind of your experience with weaning recently.
Yes. I just have to, shout out to all the women who do exclusively pump and also take care of a tiny child, because exclusively pumping is more than a full-time job. Mm-hmm. And I did not have a crying baby at the other end of my pump. I can imagine that it would just be so anxiety inducing if I was trying to figure out a pump and trying to make milk and also having a baby who was hungry. So I think that would be so difficult. I have not had to exclusively pump before, so it was a learning curve, and I actually got the hang of it really fast. But like I said, I don't have a small baby, so it helped a lot where my job was to leave the hospital and come home and have that. And I do think it helped my mental health of the journey not being immediately over the day he was born. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we talked about this on the first episode, but the hardest part emotionally for me as a surrogate was that it was over in an instant. I said, I cried to you and I was like, I just kind of miss him, and I did.
Which made us feel awful. Richard and I, we were like, oh no.
I know. And it was one of those days I just couldn't keep my emotions to myself.
Yeah.
I really tried to.
That was our biggest fear, because we're like, are we going to go through his whole life with Cathey feeling this sadness? We're his parents, we want to feel like we're his parents now. We were stepping into our role as his parents, so we were worried.
And that only lasted a couple days. It was definitely my tired healing hormone drop, day 4 or 5. And Sarah was like, how are you? And I burst into tears. I was like, I'm really good. And she was like, wait, what's happening? And I didn't miss him like he was my kid. I didn't miss him I felt like I would if I had a kid and then all of a sudden he went to live with you.
Yeah,
Like,
'cause
it
that's
was,
what
it
we
was
talked-
not that. It was like, it was
Yeah.
that I was in charge of him for 10 months and thought about him every day for like 2 years of my life. And then all of a sudden I didn't have that anymore, you know? So pumping actually was something that was really helpful for me because I got to go home and kind of continue my journey. But yeah, it's a full-time job. And so I just like shout out all the ladies who do it and have a small baby.
Yeah, I want to say something else about that because we follow some surrogates that have done it like 4 times, and they always say they're always a little sad at the end, and some blues are to be expected because like you have this huge vital role in carrying this child for this family, carrying their child, and then it's like I feel like you need to be needed, and when you're not needed anymore, it's like the sadness of it ending. So I think that's important to say because a lot of people were like, "How was Cathey able to give you the baby?" And it's like, well, her blues for a couple days weren't because she felt like he was hers. Like I was taking.
Right, not even close.
Yeah.
I actually was thrilled. I was so excited that he was there. I felt such a sense of like relief, but it was more of like me being a sentimental person, and this huge thing that we talked about for 2 years was I like shocked that it was over already.
But you felt like pumping helped stabilize some of those hormones you were feeling drops.
Yes, I felt like the pumping helped a lot, and again, it just gave me something to busy myself. So I wasn't just like, well, that was fun, and that's over, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, a couple things helped me. I saw the lactation consultant in the hospital, and I brought my pumps, like literally everyone. I had a handheld one, I had a Spectra, I rented the one from the hospital. So I saw the lactation consultant. She fit them on me and made sure that I had the right like cup size and all that stuff. So that was really helpful. She gave me a lot of paperwork that was helpful, like to follow a NICU pumping schedule. So I think moms who exclusively pump often have a baby in the hospital. And so that was helpful for me to follow that type of pumping schedule.
That's good.
And then I had someone gift me a hands-free pump, the LV, and I loved it so much. It was a game changer. And I had 2 pieces of pumping parts. So like I would store one set in the fridge, and then I would use it again, and that helped a lot too. And then I would wash a set. So I wasn't washing pump parts like 7 times a day. I was washing them probably 3 times a day. So I was either storing it in the fridge or using a clean set. And I think that helped a lot. And really I tried to stick to a schedule and like get a schedule and stick to it. So I started like 7 times a day, and then I went down to 6 times a day, and then I went down to 5, and then I went down to 4, and it took me about 6 weeks. So my goal was to pump for a month, and I made it 6 weeks, and I just slowly started to cut back. And mainly just that I felt like it was time, you know, to get back to like my family and And I think with pumping, like you can't pump like once a day or twice a day. It's either like if I was pumping 4 times and then cut back, my boobs would be like, I would like have to relieve it. So it was like either 4 times a day or I stopped. And so I decided it was time.
I know. And I think that was good. And Richard had said when John Ryder was born, he was like, I love that Cathey is willing to pump for us, but I feel like we need to draw the line somewhere so she's not feeling like she's always like indebted to like our family. Like we need to really step into like being able to like feed our son and care for our son. It was like a end of the journey thing. But
yeah, and I do think I didn't feel any pressure from you guys too. Like I brought milk to you guys like once or twice a week, and I knew that if you didn't have any, you were okay with supplementing. And I feel like if there's a mom out there who is trying to pump, that like the biggest relief for me was that I knew you guys were okay with supplementing. So I didn't feel pressure. Like I sat down and pumped for 15 minutes and whatever came out, you know? So like, I think that would be helpful, like for moms who are, and me and you talked about this. Like when I was pumping for Ruthie, I would pump for 20 minutes and get like half an ounce. And I was like, I wish someone would have just told me to stop. Like it's not worth it. Supplementing is okay. Yes.
So we can, this kind of ties into the formula thing because I was probably one of those moms, like when Charlotte was born, I went back to work really early. Pumping, I hated. I was like doing it in the back room of the office, like washing parts in the like girls' bathroom sink in a corporate office. Hated it. It was like, it was worse for my mental health. I was so depressed. It was like I was stressed out. And honestly, she had gotten the colostrum at the hospital, such good nutrients. We had breastfed for almost 3 months. I had some stored. And I was like, you know what? I'm doing what's best for my family and for my baby. So I think you and I are both advocates for like supplementing and formula when needed, and doing what's best for mom's mental health.
Yeah, me and you talked about this recently, that like one breast milk feeding is so beneficial for their gut and their brain, and like
even just the colostrum in the hospital.
Yes.
Like I even thought, okay, I literally thought to myself, if Cathey delivers John Ryder and she's like, I'm done, let's go back to my life, I don't want to pump, I'm like, if he can just have some colostrum, I'm good with that. Bobby, we've talked about that on Instagram. It's a great formula option. Honestly, our OB recommends Enfamil, which is like that. You can literally buy that at Kroger. And it's modeled like breast milk. St. Thomas, our hospital, gives that to babies in the nursery. And I feel like Instagram and things, there's just such a pressure on moms to breastfeed. And then you see these like posts of women who are like crying when their baby's like 1.5 and they're weaning. And it's like, it makes other moms feel bad. So I'm here for the other moms to say it's okay. You're still a great mom. Your baby's still healthy, getting some good nutrients.
Yeah. And I think if you can give yourself the permission to supplement what you can't make, then it makes the experience more enjoyable for you and baby. And also, if you're less stressed, you probably make more milk.
100%. Happy mom, happy baby.
That's right. So that was my experience. Honestly, weaning was much easier than I thought. I just slowly cut back and then kind of went cold turkey and like did the whole like cabbage leaves on my boobs and all that.
I feel like you're cold turkey. Like I was so surprised. I was worried the week you were weaning. I was like, she's going to be so emotional. Like something's going to go wrong. But you were like bounced back to yourself. I was like, oh, thank gosh. You seemed like, I mean, maybe not in like behind closed doors, but
yeah, I did. I mean, I definitely had some hormonal shifts because my period started too.
That's right.
So I had never had a cycle start this early, but of course I was like down to pumping only 3 times a day and my cycle started. So I definitely felt some hormonal days, but I did take some supplements that were helping. And so I'll shout those out. I was still taking prenatal. So that's what I always recommend women take your prenatal when you're pumping or breastfeeding or postpartum at all. Honestly, if you have a period, you've heard me say this, if you have a period at all, so if you're like 12 to, 50, you probably need a prenatal because it's just like an extra vitamin. I also was taking Pink Stork's postpartum mood support supplement, and I'll link it in the show notes. And I think that really helped a lot too.
That's good. Let's talk about vitamins and supplements for a second because also as a part of my journey, and also Cathey's had 2 kids of her own. I have a daughter before John Ryder, so we're very well aware of the new mom. Like those first few weeks are just plain hard. So you want to make sure that your mental health is still okay. Make sure, my biggest thing and advice for those first couple weeks is just make sure you nourish yourself, take care of yourself. I think it's really easy, especially as a mom of 2, just to pour everything into this newborn and your other child and like kind of forget to take care of yourself. So as far as supplements go, like you might not be going outside as much. So like up the vitamin D. You might be like if you were me, honestly, I went like 3 weeks and I was like, have I gone outside? I'm still in the same sweats. I'm sad. And just to like walk in the sunlight, even if he was kind of like fussy, just put him in the stroller and get out, or take the extra vitamin D supplement. What do you recommend for vitamin D if you're like literally inside for 6 weeks? I honestly know moms who like are scared to like put the baby in the stroller and even go on a walk because they're like feel so confined to like the schedule and the, so what would you say as far as like vitamin D supplements?
Yes. So we love Seeking Health. We have their their ads on our podcast. So check out their website. They have a vitamin D3 plus K2 supplement that's incredible. You can use our code. Usually for pregnant women, I recommend 2,000 to 4,000 IUs a day. Please check with your doctor on that. If you have your blood test and it's lower than that, you can go higher. So that would be something you would want to work with someone like one-on-one on. But yeah, it's if you're inside and you're having a baby in the winter months.
Yeah, what if you're like a postpartum mom in the winter months? Like you ain't going outside.
You want to go inside. Get in your car, sit in the warm car and drive. Like get out of your house and then take your vitamin D supplement.
And maybe an extra because you can take a good amount, right?
You can. Yeah. I mean, again, it's person by person basis, depending on like what their levels are, but most people are deficient, and it has a lot to do. Vitamin D can help your immunity, but also help your mental health. I have clients who like will just take vitamin D in the winter months to help seasonal depression, and it can be very beneficial.
Yeah, so if you're a new mom and you're kind of feeling bluesy, or you haven't left the house and you feel like your baby is hard and you're confined to that schedule, try the vitamin D. Cathey, as a nutritionist and a dietitian, what about in that 4th trimester? Like, one, what foods have you been eating to kind of boost your healing and recovery? And what foods can postpartum moms do to maybe just help with their overall getting their like immunity back?
So number one is that postpartum nutrition, postpartum healing you can kind of prepare your body during pregnancy. So if you're listening to this, go back and listen to like our episode on the 1st trimester and our episode on the 3rd trimester, because on those we specifically talk about nutrients during pregnancy. You can kind of prepare your body. Especially in postpartum, you want to help your body heal. And one of those is getting enough protein, because a lot of protein foods, like your animal proteins, will have zinc and iron. And both of those are really important for wound healing. So whether you've had a cesarean or stitches, you need your body is doing major healing, and it takes a lot of building blocks like amino acids and protein. So those are really helpful. Collagen from a collagen supplement or bone broth can really help, like especially this time of year, like we're getting into the cold season. So like stews and soups can have a lot of natural stuff in there. And let's see, vitamin C can help wound healing as well, mainly because it helps your natural collagen production. So if you are someone who eats more of a plant-based diet, just making sure you're getting zinc and vitamin C, both of those can be met by a plant-based diet.
You can overdose on zinc.
Yes. So we've had that experience.
I think I had that experience.
Well, it's because zinc like gets a lot of attention from like the COVID world. So.
Okay, I'll have to say this in like 2 seconds. Yeah, I was right after John Ryder was born. I was like so afraid of COVID because I didn't want to give it to my family, and I was taking way too much zinc, like way too much. My teeth got sensitive. I was having like dull headaches and a little bit of nausea, and I was like, I think I have zinc toxicity. Can't say that word. So that's like that's a thing. So just watch your dosages.
Yeah, for sure. That's why vitamins, we don't just want to like take handfuls and hope we're doing well. We want to like work with somebody who knows what they do. But also,
everything in moderation.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing during postpartum recovery, but just even as a new mom, Sarah, it's like you said, eating and drinking enough. We are usually like one of the goals for moms is like, just prioritize your mealtime. You can't just, and I say this from personal experience too, like even as a dietitian, for like 2 years of my life, I just like grabbed a protein bar for lunch because that's literally all I had the mental energy for. So I come to you with compassion and knowing that like it's hard to do that. So it's so important especially if you're pumping or nursing, to like you're spending so much energy doing that. And so you want to make sure you're eating and drinking enough. And then this is a time too to like take it easy on yourself. Get a big stack of paper plates and, make things easy, like quesadillas and like just things that are like you can do with one hand and eat with one hand, because you're usually holding a baby with the other.
Yeah, I say prioritize meal times. That was kind of one of the things where I said don't forget to feed yourself, because I think that you're feeding the baby, and then your 4-year-old wants a snack, and then your family wants dinner, and if you have multiple kids, it's like you're going to put yourself last, because let's be honest, the moms are the glue, and a lot of times we're the meal preppers. So just making sure you nourish yourself, number one, and not being afraid to cut the corners. Like that's not like shameful to get paper plates or ask for help, ask for people to bring you meals. I mean, that was like a godsend. I wish people were still bringing us meals. I'm like, can you blame me?
I know.
Bring me a meal.
Order food out.
You can still eat healthy out.
Yeah.
That'd be a good podcast episode.
That would. Yeah. And like make things like amplify what you're already doing. Like if you're grabbing just a piece of toast in the morning, it's better than nothing. And then go like, how can I amp that up? Okay, I'll throw a hard-boiled egg on it, or throw a piece of avocado on it. Boom. Right. It took 5 seconds, but you're going to be able to keep up with your family now. So those are things you can eat with one hand. Like ideally we're like having partners who are saying, what do you need to eat and drink today? Like those are things that our partners can help us with too. We are excited to have Seeking Health back as a sponsor for season 2 of the Talk to Me Sister podcast. If you want quality vitamins, you can use our code SISTERS2 for 10% off your next order.
This exclusive coupon gets you 10% off your next order. That's sisters2. Visit seekinghealth.com. Going back to being a new mom of 2.
Yeah, do that.
Mom of 2 family, and now a new family of 4. That was a tongue twister for some reason for me. And that can be a huge adjustment. I was wondering that when John Ryder was born. You know, I think we've done really, really good. I'd kind of already prepped, and I've watched you be a mom of 2, Anna be a mom of 3. So I kind of knew what to expect. And Richard and I were like, we did this with Charlotte. We were like, okay, what are our expectations the first month? And I always said, I'm like, everybody that has multiple children, they say it's all hands on deck. So we kind of had a game plan before John Ryder was born. I think this really helped us to be like, okay, let's just say you're going to do Charlotte's bath time. I'm going to do this. You're going to do that. We're going to divide and conquer. And setting expectations before the new baby was really helpful, because I think a lot of times couples just don't talk about it. And then all of a sudden they have this new baby. Everybody's tired. No one has the mental capacity to, you know, and you don't want to just like bark orders at your husband. But I feel like you will feel like you have more of like a partner and a teammate than feeling like you're just like gasping for air, you know, 3 weeks in when you're feeling like you're doing it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good advice. I think I told you when we were talking about this that for the first 2 weeks, especially if you're healing as well, for the first 2 weeks, I don't think I changed Samson's diaper when he was little. Like Alex changed his diaper for 2 straight weeks. And
that's amazing.
And I think if you can express that to your partner and say, listen, I'm in charge of input, so feeding, and you're in charge of output. Like input, output. It makes sense.
Simple.
And then they go back to, like, my husband went back to work. And so, of course, things, you know, my full-time job became being a stay-at-home mom when he was little. And so, of course, like expectation, you have to do another communication round of like, okay, well, this is what I expect when you get home from work. And I do think dad's jobs, or whoever's the outside of the home parent, I think bath time is a great time for them to take over. And I also, when Sam was little, I don't know if you guys have tried this, Sarah, like the meal kits were nice, because I think,
like HelloFresh,
or whatever.
Sponsor us.
Yeah, I was about to say, this episode's brought to you by Blue Apron. I'm just kidding. We wish. But
I like HelloFresh better than Blue Apron.
Yeah,
that's just me personally.
Okay. I like Home Chef.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Anyway, those were helpful because you have such decision fatigue in your mind. You're like, I can't think of one more thing. So we need to sign you up if you're not. But
we should. I know sometimes I get the end of the day and I'm like, Richard's like, what's for dinner? I'm like, what are cereal. Let me say one more thing about feeding that popped into my head, because I have some people ask about like what we're doing. So I'm thinking like surrogate moms, or women that are adopting and maybe not breastfeeding might be listening. We are giving John Ryder breast milk during the day and formula at night. We're like doing one or the other right now, because we do have a ton of breast milk left in the freezer. And people have asked me, does that make them fussy, or is the transition hard? Surprisingly, no. I did not know how it was going to be, or if he was going to feel fussy going like cold turkey to formula at night. But it's been 100% fine. And because he has formula at night, it gives us like an extra hour stretch, because they go more like 4-hour stretches when they have formula. So it's kind of been nice. And yes, he's done really well with both.
That's great advice. Are you guys I think people probably want to know this, because I feel like it's always like when they're little, you're kind of just like trying to survive.
Yeah.
Have you like started a schedule yet? How often is he eating? How much is he eating? Like just briefly, because that's always helpful to hear what other people are doing in those like newborn weeks. Okay, so he's 7 weeks old or 8 weeks old this week? Okay.
Yep.
So what's your schedule
7.
like?
Yeah, so I guess if new moms are listening, I live and die by Moms on Call. You can get the book on Amazon or download the app. Another great resource is BabyWise, and they have great schedules in the back of their book too. I live and die by a schedule because I did that with Charlotte, and she started sleeping through the night at like 10 weeks. It's funny, he's a good sleeper, but he doesn't sleep long. Like he sticks to my schedule. He sticks to the schedule, and that's really helpful, but he's not like a long sleeper. Like Charlotte would take 2-hour naps during the day. He takes like maybe 40-minute naps. But every baby's different. And I think that once you realize every baby's different, and don't get frustrated if they don't stick to a perfect schedule that you've read in the book, that's okay. You kind of just have to do what's best for you and the baby. But he's 7 weeks now, and he's eating about 6 ounces.
Per feeding.
Per feeding.
Wow.
But it's funny, it's been 4 years since I had a newborn, so I was getting worried when he wasn't eating the full, like, 5 ounces, 6 ounces that the schedule said. And my pediatrician said something really perfect. He was like, well, think about you. Do you eat the same amount at every sitting, at every meal? Sometimes you're really hungry, sometimes you're not. So same with your baby. And sometimes your baby's going to eat a ton and finish the entire bottle. Sometimes he's going to eat a little. So it's not, as long as the baby is peeing and pooping normally, your baby's happy. And if he's crying, he might be hungry and you can think about supplementing. But yeah, I am a full believer in a schedule. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. I like that. And so he's eating like 6 ounces every like 3 or 4 hours, or less than that?
Yeah, every 3 or 4 hours is normal.
Okay. And I do, because you said like you've had friends too who are like afraid to leave the house because their schedule. So like there's a middle ground, right? Like,
yeah.
How do you adjust to, like, I feel like if I remember, like, I feel like the second I got comfortable in a schedule, your kid would like have a leap or change or something like that.
100%.
What's that leap? Wonder Years. What's it called? That leap app that tells you if your baby's in a growth spurt.
Well, I think that's Moms on Call, because it'll tell you. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, we'll put it in the show notes. It's been clearly so long since I've done it.
Baby Wise will also tell you that too.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of babies go through leaps. Like I noticed, like, I guess it was maybe last week or the week before, that he was hungrier quicker, and he was going through a little bit of a growth spurt. And so I think you just need, I think once you start to like read and understand your baby more, you won't get as frustrated. Like if I'm like, oh, he's going through a leap or he's going through a growth spurt. Okay, he might be a little bit more fussy. He might be hungrier earlier. So yeah, I think that those resources are really helpful for new moms that just need some guidelines.
It helps you not feel so crazy. Okay, it's called the Wonder Weeks.
Oh,
the Wonder Weeks.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about the Wonder Weeks.
I remember when Ruthie was little, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then I would look at my Wonder Weeks and I'd go, oh, you put in like the baby's birth date, and it tells you when they're expected to have a leap, or when they're doing major growth, or when they're going to get over their fussy phase. And it just helps you see like a light at the end of the tunnel, because I feel like when you're tired, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be tired for the rest of my life. And then you look at these apps and you're like, okay, in 2 weeks, I'm going to have a couple sunny days and I'm just going to cling to that, you know? Okay, 100%. Sarah, tell us like your piece of advice, like for new moms, like especially those who are just super tired and not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, I think, this sounds cliche, but just know when to raise your hand and ask for help. There is no shame in saying, hey, my immune system, I'm struggling. I am at the brink of, crumbling. As a new mom, you're not getting any restorative sleep. You're waking up every 2 to 3 hours. Like, let's be honest, your body is, if you're a new mom, you have a little bit of those like hormonal endorphins. And it's funny, on my side of things, I didn't deliver the baby. So it's like, I don't have some of those like hormonal endorphins. And so for like adoptive parents and people like give yourself grace. Like your body might just be run down, and that's okay. And just know when to raise your hand to say, hey, can you come over and sit with my baby for a second where I take like just a really good power nap? I think that's fine. Also, like we've said this a million times in the podcast already, remember to nourish yourself. Educate yourself on your baby, the weeks they are in the schedule, because babies change week by week, and their needs and their amount of formula or breast milk that they need changes every week. And so if you're not up to date on the schedule and their needs, and they're more fussy, they might just be hungry. Yeah. Because they change their ounces so quickly that we looked back at, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we looked back at the Moms on Call and we're like, man, he's so fussy. And we're like, oh wait, I think he's just hungry. Look like the schedule. He's actually supposed to eat like 2 more ounces at each sitting. And it's like you're so tired. You're like, I can't even read right now. But it's just, I think this is a long answer, but.
Yeah. Well, I'm so interested too, between like this experience for me made me realize how much the exhaustion part of being a new mom plays into the like lack of healing and recovery, because like I feel like I healed so fast. Literally 2 weeks after he was born, I went to like a party, like,
I know,
where I played beer pong.
Wait, can
like,
I just say, yeah, I was like so tired. I was like, my bag's under my eyes. Cathey was like sending me pictures. She was like, whoa! I was like, I go, I'm sorry, is this a picture of you playing beer pong?
Like, I literally, like, people were like, you had a baby 2 weeks ago? And I was like, I did, but it also, like, blew my mind. I was like, I'm doing so well. It's insane. Like, it blew my mind because, like, it took me, like, 8 months to leave the house without dripping milk when I had Sam. But, like, so much of it has to do with the fatigue. So, like, you are in it, Sarah. Like,
well, that's why we said at the beginning of, or I guess it was right after you delivered, and when we were talking about how we're on both sides of postpartum, we're like, I feel like this should be a pact with women. Like, you have my baby, and then we'll switch, and I'll have your baby. So, like, not one woman has to do both. You know?
I know. I mean, the moral of the story is, like, you physically can't heal without sleeping, but you can't sleep when you have a small baby. So you have to find time to sleep. You have to find time to rest. You have to find time to put your feet up and rest your body. And I think that would help your physical recovery, but also your mental health as well.
Yeah.
And I was remembering about the crying. You were like, John Ryder was like crying. And I had someone tell me this. It was like a friend. And you have to remind yourself when you have a small baby that crying is their communication. And she told me, she was like, I mean, your baby could like have an eyelash in their eye. They're not upset. They're not hungry. They're not tired. They just like, that's their only way to communicate. And I remember it like took pressure off me, like trying 100%. To figure out why they were crying every time.
I got to say this because this is important. It's about the crying. So usually if you're not new mom listening, or if you're a mom that hasn't been in the newborn phase a while, the 4:30, 5:30, 6 o'clock hour, everybody calls it the witching hour. For some reason, it's babies are like the fussiest. And wouldn't you know that's like gonna happen, because it's like when you're trying to sit down for dinner. But it always seems like it's the fussy hour. Well, I read recently that this is okay that your baby as a newborn is fussy at this hour, because it's a way they release energy. Because think about it, they can't walk, they can't talk, they can't release energy. And if they're sleeping all day, I mean, on and off throughout the day, like as they get older, they might have some like pent up energy. So it was like saying, don't let it. I think that when your baby cries, you I mean, even for me, like I get anxiety. I'm like, oh my goodness, why? But it might be a good thing. They might just be releasing energy, and babies cry. So, yeah.
And doesn't that crying, like I remember it's like purple cry. It's called like purple cry. It's not necessarily colic. It's just like that time of the day.
It's just like fussy.
Fussiness. And I think it tends to improve around 6 to 8 weeks. So like, I feel like if you can get through the first 6 to 8 weeks
of like 8.
Newbornness, then it improves. I mean, every baby is different, but I remember like reading that.
Yeah.
How accurate.
8 to 10 weeks, you kind of get over that hump a little bit. Okay, last thing, 4th trimester question, Cathey. Okay. We haven't really covered like blues or postpartum depression. Like I had a little bluesy with Charlotte. You had a lot of blues with Samson. Is there anything for women listening that they can do for balancing their hormones besides pumping and breastfeeding, and any supplements or things that you can do to help with maybe postpartum depression or blues?
Yes. So I did mention the pink stork, oh my gosh, mood support. That supplement has milk thistle and some other things in it that I think when combined together, like super powerful. And CBD is a great one. I think that was the only thing that helped me with my postpartum anxiety after I had Samson. And then of course, like reaching out to your provider. There's always a time and place for pharmaceuticals and medication. And I think when you're exhausted and you really just need, more than CBD or some herbs, like there's a time and place for that. But sunshine, vitamin D, sleep is just the biggest thing. And so if your partner can, like, I remember Alex used to take like 8 p.m. to 12 and then I would sleep and then I would wake up and do the, middle of the night.
That's what we do.
And that routine really helped a lot because I'm kind of like not a night owl and he is. So you have to ask for help, seek help from your provider if you need additional support. And we can do a whole nother like hormone balancing episode because, you know, it's a very complex thing and it tends to be person to person. Sometimes even for the energy thing and the hormone thing, it's actually balancing your blood sugar, which is why eating often can help. Because if your blood sugar isn't balanced, of course, you're going to drop and you're going to have a blood sugar low. And then that's going to feel like fatigue. Blood sugar highs can mess with your hormones. And so also just making sure you're eating consistently, drinking water, not drinking a ton of sugary drinks to stay awake. Like those things can help.
Not just drinking coffee.
Not just drinking coffee, drinking water,
which
and
actually
fuel.
Dehydrates you.
Yeah. So hormones, I think we'll have to do another one, but I really do think the anxiety part, I don't know about you guys, but I had a lot of like kind of just like intrusive thoughts. That's anxiety. So like you like picture yourself falling down the stairs with your baby, or you picture yourself like forgetting to put the car seat in the car. Like that's actually postpartum depression and anxiety. No one told me that.
I feel like that's also like mom anxiety. Like I had that when Charlotte was like 1.
Do you have that now with John Ryder? Like as a...
Actually, no. I don't have that with John Ryder, but I had it with Charlotte really bad, and I had it until she was like 3.
So, I mean, I wonder if we'll have to do an update, because I wonder if this comes in with John Ryder, just like, because I have that now with my kids, and I feel like it's a hormonal mom postpartum anxiety depression thing, because all of a sudden
like mom anxiety, like
it is, but it's like we often think that's just part of it, and we shouldn't have those thoughts. We shouldn't just be like having these thoughts that keep us up at night and it's part of motherhood. No, like we need to work through these. And I think part of it is postpartum and part of it is motherhood, but also like those are intrusive, terrible things. Like I shouldn't replay the image of my son accidentally getting hit by a car over and over again. That's anxiety. So if you're having those are things to talk to your provider about.
Yes. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I think that's like something that no one wants to say out loud.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like it's really common. Okay, going back to just mom's mental health, I wanted to share because I think sometimes as moms, we don't like to ask for help, or we think that it's like a bad thing that we can't do it on our own. But some moms that are suffering from postpartum depression or lack of sleep or just really struggling themselves, I don't think it's shameful to like, you know, reach out to a night nurse or say like, I need some help. I need a night nurse for 1 week to just get myself back to myself. So if you're local to Nashville, NashvilleNightNurses.com is an amazing resource. They have 5 stars. I have a lot of friends that have used them. Their email is NashvilleNightNurses@gmail.com. They have an Instagram, a Facebook, and you can hashtag Nashville Night Nurses. They are incredible women, nurses. So they're certified nurses with 30 plus years experience. They're incredible. They'll come to your house, and that's a good local resource. And if you need it, do it.
So this is a lot, and I know some of it's difficult, especially if you're looking and preparing for postpartum. You're like, oh my God, this is a lot of stuff. So I hope this was like encouraging, gave you some tips of advice and some solidarity. You got this. If we can do this, anybody can do this.
And also the newborn phase is so sweet and so joyful and just snuggles, and you're on that like new mom high. So you can do it. And we hope this was encouraging, and we were like, wah, but I think we gave some helpful resources. But I think it's good to just say being a new mom is hard. And that doesn't mean it's not great. And that doesn't mean you don't love your baby.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why we wanted to do this episode, to just hopefully give some good pointers and tips and let you know a little bit about our personal journey, because everybody's been asking about Cathey and the baby and me and Richard and everything. So
yeah, and I do feel like every time I had a baby, there were more resources and more tools and more ways to get support, and it got easier and easier. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back soon with lots of other topics.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Also, make sure to check out our Amazon store. Thank you.